Hi, one of the most significant characteristics of Python is that it's interpreted. But what does interpreted mean here? And what does an interpreter do? So let's break down that part, the interpreter and the interpreted part of Python, to know exactly what does this mean. So when we say a programming language is interpreted, it means that the source code, the code that you actually write, this source code is not directly translated into machine language that a computer can or a processor can run. Instead, an interpreter, another program, reads and translates the source code line by line. In the simplest terms, an interpreter is a program that reads our code, translates it into a form that a computer can understand, and manages its execution. So in short, what I'm saying is that in Python, the interpreter is a program that reads and translates our source code line by line. To fully understand this, let's explore Python interpreter and ultimately explain why Python is called interpreted programming language. Python interpreter is composed of two key parts, the compiler and the Python virtual machine, or PVM for short. These two work together to execute your Python code. The first part, the compiler, takes your Python code, transforms it or compiles it into something we call bytecode. This is like a version of your code that is easier for the computer to understand. It's like translating English into Morse code, different format, but the same message. Then comes the second part, the Python virtual machine, or PVM. PVM is a program that interprets or translates bytecode. The PVM takes this bytecode, translates it into machine code, the language that your computer's processor directly understands. But here is the important part. I want you to pay more attention because this is the part that explains why Python is called an interpreted language. You've talked about bytecode being translated into machine code or converted into machine code. So this translation process, it doesn't happen to your entire code at once. Instead, it's done piece by piece. The PVM picks up one piece of bytecode at a time, which corresponds to one line of your Python code, translates it into machine code, and passes it off to the processor for execution. This process is repeated for every single line of your Python code, one after the other. If there is an error in any line, the interpreter will halt the translation process and notify you. Only once an error is resolved does it move on to the next line. This line-by-line translation and execution process is why Python is often referred to as interpreted language.